Anybody feel a little brighter? Yeah. Breath. I think you asked about that the other day, Nathan. Yeah. Breath. Breath. It's so easy to get stagnant in sitting. It's so easy to get stagnant in standing. It's so easy to get stagnant in walking. And you think it's mental. Actually, it's because you stop moving. Even when you're walking, you stop moving. When you stand, you stop moving. And when you're sitting, you're not moving. So before you sit, before you stand, before you walk, actually take stock of what you're doing. Don't just sit. Do something. Actually take some time to go. So in discernment, using mindfulness and awareness, how do you sit? Do you sit like this and you meditate? No, not at all. A discerning being will sit and go, I've just been teaching this. How does it feel throughout the body? How does it feel in the mind? What's the feel in the mind? It's so simple. Instead of just going like this, or being taught a posture, discern a posture. What actually brightens the mind? What settles the consciousness? What enlivens the feeling throughout the body? Does this, does this, does this, does that. And then of course there's all kinds of postures, right? Like this and like this and like that and all kinds of things. But what actually brightens and settles the awareness? Okay? Of course there's ancient postures, but you may find that a little bit of tweaking, a little elevation underneath your bum, so the belly can fall, can actually release, undoing the belt, and the hands in a certain spot, especially when you're doing a lot of meditative practice, you will find that even the way your hands, your fingers are positioned, like this or like this, will make a fair difference, actually, in settling, allowing the energies to circulate and settle. So a few pointers on that. Anybody feel brighter, fresher, after just engaging the body and churning? Mm-hmm. That's cool, isn't it? And if you checked your nostrils, you'd see that maybe they're more open and clear. Mm-hmm. So turning to the text, tomorrow morning, for those who are not coming to see me in the tent, tomorrow morning is a great opportunity to deepen your meditative practice by, if you don't have any duties that you have to do and so on, responsibilities, of taking the entire morning from after breakfast or whenever you're ready to say, oh good, I've got 3 hours or 4 hours from morning till lunch, and I'm going to have 3 hours of continuous practice. Slow, right? Standing, walking, sitting, lying down. Don't lie down if you get sleepy. Okay? And just keep doing it again and again and again and again, and see if you can extend the loving kindness practice. Slower the better. And I'm going to try to impart to you something that's too simple and too straightforward. Maintain a continuum of sensation, and you'll enter at least the neighborhood jhana or the first jhana. Stay with sensation. If you can stay with sensation, doesn't have to be breath. If you can stay with sensation, it will knock out all the frontal lobe activity of rumination and thinking. Just stay with physical sensation. Okay. Page 184. Continuing along in this text. Here is I'm sure, a memorization statement that you carry with you. You can remind yourself. It says in the middle of the page here on 184, and again one should recollect thus: if one has not yet produced demerit, that is, if you haven't produced, I guess in Western language, sin, a lack of good states. You have not yet created bad stuff around you and in you. One should wish not to produce it. Just don't do it. I don't want to do it. I see the results and don't want to go there. It's good. And if one has already produced it, one should wish to destroy it or remove it, eliminate it. Remember, these are choices of a translator about, I think, 80 years ago. At a certain place, a certain time, picking words going from Chinese back to Pali and so on. So it's not necessarily the words I would choose to use. If one has not yet produced merit, that is capacity, spiritual capacity, that is the parami and elements, of course, of the 37 factors of enlightenment. Oh, another handout. If one has not yet produced merit, one should wish to produce it. Mm-hmm. And if one has already produced it, one should wish to increase it. This is brilliant. Instead of just resting, oh, I feel good. Life is good. I feel good. Increase it. Make it abundant. And are you making it abundant for yourself? If you make it abundant for yourself, you'll be making it abundant for other beings who interact with you. And again, one should not wish to produce undesirable states. This takes really good contemplation. Recognizing unpleasurable or unwholesome states and ending them, trying to end them. And if one has produced them, one should wish to eliminate them, to remove them, to take care of them so they don't rise again. One should wish to produce desirable states of mind, and if one has produced them, one should wish to increase them. Okay? So there's something you can ask yourself. Do you wish to increase good states, or do you just rest in what you have and go, that's cool, it's nice? Or do you ask the question, what could I do with that? It's really, really straightforward. So I tell a story of a dear friend who practiced a lot of meditation. And after many years of meditation, discovered their mind still wasn't very steady. Go up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. Sometimes lots of discursive dialogue, and sometimes very little. He got fed up in a retreat, just fed up. It's enough. Had it. Had it with us. You walk, right? You walk, 17 paces or 30 paces, and then you sit, and you do all kinds of practices. But he went, after all the years of meditation, I've had it. Guess what he did? So cool. Can I go from here to here with no discursive rumination, dialogue, wandering off? And kept practicing going from here to here, here to here, here to here, one step, until he could do that, one step. And then he just increased it. Sounds like playing scales, yes? Sounds like you're teaching me of how to play the clarinet. It's exactly the same. If you can't do one step, try half a step. If you can't do half a step, try a quarter of a step. That's how you accomplish. That's how you accomplish. Then you see, wow, I can do that. And extend it. So extending, 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 extending. That yogin is able to gain confidence, faith. Faith is confidence. It's the only reason we have genuine faith is when we have confidence. If you don't have confidence, you don't have genuine faith. You have shakable faith. You have easily shaken, destroyed, corrupted, beaten up, falling confidence. Faith is only built by really knowing and testing and go, absolutely correct. Yeah. So by means of the heart of kindness, of metta. Of course, if you turn to the next section, they'll say the same thing through the heart of compassion. Turn to the next section, through the heart of sympathetic joy. To the next section, through the heart of equanimity. Same. The word heart there is usually a translation of the word ceto, one of the equivalents of ceto. Cheto doesn't actually mean heart. If it's heart, it's hridya, which is in Sanskrit, or a Pali, which literally means the heart. But usually, if you look, you'll see it's the word is cheto, or which really means the focus of attention, the focus of consciousness. That's usually how it's translated. As Namjin used to say, wherever the heart of attention is, or wherever the consciousness is the heart of attention. That's what they mean. Yeah, they don't mean actually your heart. I mean, some people have a heart over here, but your heart like that. Through confidence that is free, he can establish his mind, or she can establish his mind. So, this word free, there's the word freedom all the way through it. To find out what they mean, because they don't reference the actual Pali or the Chinese word for that, you need to turn to page 2, which is the introduction by the author of this text, Arahata Upatissa. And then he says on top of page 2, oh, you don't have that. That's all right. He said, a path of freedom described. What is the meaning of the path of freedom? The text. Freedom means the 5 kinds of freedom, not just one freedom. These are all variations of the word vimutti. If you want to write that down, one of the most common words, but important words, is vimutti, V-I-M-U-T-T-I, vimutti, freedom, release. Yeah. These are all vimuttis. So you thought there's one kind of freedom. Now there's 5 kinds of freedom. You thought there's one kind of emptiness. No, there's 16 kinds of emptiness. Remember? Once you discover something, you discover more. We were joking about that in the lab the other day. Just open up any door and, oh, it's another 2 years of study, right? Well, anywhere you look, oh my goodness, there's a major study right around the corner. Okay, opening it up. And makes you rich, gives you all kinds of qualities. Okay, number 1. Freedom means the 5 kinds of freedom. Freedom of suppression. Vikambana vimutti. Freedom, and he's going to explain each one of these. Freedom of suppression. Not sure I picked that exact translation, but that's fine. Freedom of suppression. Freedom of parts. Freedom of parts. Also known as Vipassana. Freedom of eradication. Freedom, I would prefer, instead of the word of, freedom through. So freedom through parts, freedom through suppression, freedom through eradication, which is the next one, is number 3. And I'm just using their translation here. It was a bit of a committee. Freedom of tranquility. And freedom of emancipation. Freedom of tranquility is 4, and freedom of emancipation. What is freedom of suppression? It is the suppression of the passions through the practice of the first meditation jhana. This means overblown passions. It means the mind wishing to go from one pleasurable sensation to another. It can't remain in an even, relaxed state. So the first meditation, what's called jhana, or even upachara samadhi, usually takes care of these passions. What are the passions? The passions are displayed by the 5 hindrances. Is when you don't get what you want. Have you experienced this yet in meditation? When you don't have a meditative experience, you get frustrated. You're supposed to, right? You come here for a retreat, and there's no meditative experience happening. You're not getting the loving kindness you're supposed to get. So what happens when you don't get the loving kindness you're supposed to get? You get frustrated. You go, it's not working for me. I don't have enough loving kindness, or one of the 100 variations on the theme. What happens when you don't get what you want in life? You get frustrated. When you have frustration, you have ill will, you have patiga. You strike out. When you strike out, you wear yourself out and get tired. When you get tired, you have a snooze. That's called sloth and torpor. You have a snooze. When you wake up, you're irritated and kind of restless and wondering what you're doing, and you start the whole process over and over again. So the chasing after objects, sensory objects that bring pleasure, meditation. Meditation's supposed to bring me bliss. Out of metta meditation, I'm supposed to feel pleasurable, and I'm supposed to feel love, and I'm supposed to feel really happy. And it's not happening. Therefore, I'm mad. And when I get mad, and I get really mad, I have a temper tantrum, I run around, my head cut off, and eventually, I'm so tired, I fall asleep. And after you fall asleep, you wake up and you go, like, what's happening, man? You get restless. Right? When you get really restless, now you have all these experiences, what happens? This isn't the right meditation for me. I'm not even in the right place, not even at the right retreat. I think I signed up for the wrong retreat. Isn't there one down the road? Yeah, it's normal. And then along comes, metta. Actually, it's because you're looking at your phone, it says metta. Sorry, I couldn't help that. Metta. And it's so good. And then nothing's happening. Like much. You know, much? Like the big stuff. So then you go, but I should be having more. I should have something that like turns me on. Metta. Loving kindness. And you're back into the 5 hindrances. So this is how it works, folks. It happens all day long anyways. But in meditation, you just happen to notice it far clearer. Okay? So that's what's meant by the suppression of the passions. That is, greed, hatred, delusion is a suppression. Suppressing greed, hatred, delusion, pride, and jealousy. And that is done through the practice, the first meditation. When the first meditation arises of excellent concentration, they vanish. This is called freedom of suppression. Well, yeah. Could I have the Pali dictionary there? That's great, thank you. Save time. Look up the numbers first. Some of these are a bit obscure. Yes, actually, there's nothing there really suppress. Stopping the hindrances, that's what it means. Withdrawal of stopping the hindrances, stopping that which is evil or corrupt. That's what it means. Arresting, eliminating, discarding. Yeah. Suppressing, okay, but suppressing means comes back for another day. Eliminating is far better. All right. And then we have the next one, which is freedom of parts. This is the freedom from views through the practice of concentration, which partakes of penetration, also known as vipassana. That is, it sees clearly into the parts and sees that these parts are actually empty. That's what that means. And actually, literal translation from the dictionary of the technical term is certainty. Is actually having certainty because you've seen that things are compound. That's what the word means. Parts. When you see that something is compounded, you realize it's not solid. So, if you were to realize that your personality or your being is made of parts and all ever changing, then you wouldn't feel it's actually a solid thing. Okay. So freedom of parts. Freedom of eradication is the destruction of the fetters through the practice of the supramundane path. That is, any of the transcendental stages, the freedom from rules and ritual, the freedom from belief in a real a solid, solid self entity. You know, these kind of freedom from views. So these are the various stages: freedom from anger, freedom from greed, eventually freedom from delusion, and so on. Freedom from conceit. These are the freedoms they're talking about. The actual elimination of those. Called the 10 fetters that are in the way for complete freedom of self-experience or emotional experience. Then there is, the next one is freedom of tranquility. As the happy heart of a man, of course, and a woman who acquires the fruit of a transcendent stage. That's what that means. The tranquility that comes from the experience of freedom, freedom of mind, not freedom of tranquility. That's what it means. And then the next one is freedom of emancipation, which is liberation, is extinction without residue. There's nothing left which is confused. It's also called the extinction without residue of the substratum of being. All remaining delusions about being, confusion about being or not being, have been utterly eliminated through experience. So that's what they mean by freedom. There's 5 freedoms. Unfortunately, in the text, we don't know which freedom. It doesn't say, usually. Rarely does it tell you which one. But in this case, we can surmise a bit.
Mark?
Yes.
Freedom of eradication.
Mm-hmm. Eradicating the fetters.
Oh, it's the fetters. Okay.
Yeah. And one of them is eradicating the what are called the 10 fetters. Each stage of the classic stages of liberation has certain fetters that are completely gone, or certain fetters that are deeply gone, but not completely gone. Okay. So what does it mean to have confidence that is free? That's the first stage. Confidence that is free. That's absolute unshakable confidence that there is such a not a thing, such a mode as mental freedom. Freedom from any hint of suffering states. That's what it means. Okay. And if one can actually establish or develop confidence in that freedom, then he or she can establish their mind. That's what it means. Can establish their mind. So again, I'm going to come back to this point I'd like to make. It's actually the title of a very famous text by one of the Karmapas, Distinguishing Awareness. When we have awareness, this is also to Gary's question. I think Gary from Australia? I think so. Gary Emery? Yeah, I think so. Don't know Gary, but Gary from Australia. Gary's asked about awareness and conscious and so on. Is there a clear recognition of what constitutes states and what constitutes no states? Unborn. Doesn't come, doesn't go, isn't subject to transience, isn't lost, doesn't go when you fall asleep, doesn't go when you fall asleep at the wheel, doesn't go when you're on the cell phone, doesn't go when you're in front of the computer, doesn't go when you're in front of a class or sitting in class. It just doesn't go. It doesn't matter if you're distracted or not distracted. It doesn't matter if you're having a fantasy or rumination. It simply doesn't come, doesn't go. It's absolutely free of becoming. Can you imagine how big a confusion that is if you're always chasing after things that come and go, and thinking that you're latching on to it? I got it. It's like someone says, I got the meditation. Congratulations. More suffering for another day. I got it. I got it. Got what? So it says here, through establishing that it is free, establishing freedom of mind, he or she can dwell in mindfulness. Mindfulness of what? Mindfulness of freedom. Absolute recollection of freedom, as opposed to clinging to states. Which state are you going to cling to? So you say, I'm going to cling to good states. Excellent. Please cling to good states. Eventually, you'll realize that good states are good states and they come and go. So you may as well look for something way more supportive. That which doesn't come or go. So, isn't that an interesting concept about mindfulness that you may have never heard before? A definition of mindfulness never ever encountered. Mindfulness is actually what we mean by in Mahamudra. Mindfulness in Mahamudra, mindfulness in Dzogchen. Mindfulness of the free mind. Not mindfulness of states, not mindfulness of things coming and going, not even mindfulness that there's no self. Because if you have a mindfulness of no self, you've got a concept about self. If you have mindfulness of no self, you have a concept of self. If you have a concept of self, you have a concept of self. If you have a concept of neither self nor non-self, you still have a concept. This means eliminating it right to the ground. Yeah. If someone says to you, I have a self, if someone says to you, they have a no self, and if someone says to you, I have both a self and a non-self, you go, And if someone says to you, I'm absolutely certain I have neither self nor non-self, they're all wrong. It's like someone says, I'm a meditator of non-duality. Okay. That's like I'm a Mahamudra meditator. All right. The next person comes along, I don't meditate on Mahamudra. Excellent. Or someone comes, I've never ever experienced non-duality. Exactly right. How can you experience non-duality? Is it possible? What do you say? Is it possible to experience non-duality? No. Not at all. But could you get a whiff of non-duality and put a name on it? You go, I think they call that non-duality. See? And you go, there's a name. Good, got it, label. Okay. So, let's go further. This is absolutely worth just meditating on. Through mindfulness that is free, that is not mindfulness that is states. The feeling of freedom, absolute, unshakable, unspeakable freedom, through establishing that it is free, that is investigating freedom, investigating and going, yes, this is freedom. And through confidence that is free, or faith that is free, he or she is endowed with the unshakable mind. The unshakable mind. Otherwise, mind's a pushover. Just a simple pushover. Anything comes along, it's all gone. Buddhism, Mahamudra meditator, Dzogchen meditator, yogi, yogini, practitioners, all gone in a second when you get pushed over. And he or she understands the state, I would say the mode. Get rid of the word state. You usually find in almost all the text the word state was put in by the translator because in English we need a word state. But we almost always find that there's no such thing as the word state. So I prefer mode or just eliminate, cross out the word state. We seem not to be able to have something that isn't a state. Isn't that interesting? So we say the state of consciousness, the state of awareness, the state of the transcendental, the state of Mahamudra, the state, the state, the state. There is no state. And the text often doesn't have the word state. We just need the word state. Otherwise, we're not comfortable. Imagine if you said, he understands the unshakable. That's probably what, if we have the poly, which I think is, I'm not sure it's here, might be. Number 3? No, just perception. But most often when we go and investigate whether the word state is there, when it's in a translation like in here, we've taken almost all the states out of this year. Just they're not there. And that's not a fault. It's just simply, it might be better to just start leaving it out. As people mature, they don't need to grasp onto a state, so leave it out. You go, yeah, but what is it that I'm supposed to have? I don't know. Do you need something? You don't have anything anyways, but you need something. And at the beginning, you need something, right? Isn't that right? In the beginning, you say, well, I'd like to have the state of loving kindness. That makes sense, doesn't it? So you give people states. But there may be no actual state that they can grasp. So, understands the unshakable mind. That yogin, by these means and through these activities, not non-activities, through discernment, recollection, investigation, opening, searching, expanding, contemplating, reflection, meditating, through these activities develops the thought, the contemplation. It isn't really thought, it's sanya. And sanya is perception. It's a little different. Through the perception. Through the perception of loving kindness for himself, repeats it and understands unshakability. What's the unshakability here? Doesn't even have to be in words. This is good, this is happy, this is glad, this is a full body, mind experience of resting in of kindness, of care, all through your being. And then what would you do? Could I imbue that in other beings? Mm-hmm.
That quality of loving kindness, this fullness, it's unshakable, but it's a quality. Therefore, it morphs, it changes. It's not like this, so there's this place here.
It's pointing to something. This is why I'm reading this text.
Okay.
You don't find this in many other places. This is what you find in the Mahamudra text, the Dzogchen text. Unshakable freedom, they're saying it's loving kindness.
It has to be alive. It's not like...
That's right. It's alive. Keep reading this over and over again.
Okay.
You'll find this in almost nowhere. This is written by a very enlightened being, this text. Arahata Upatisha. Just read it carefully and see what the meaning is. The meaning is discover the nature of mind, and then you'll have metta. That's the ground. All the rest will be fabricated metta. That's okay. Where do we start? Fabricated, conceptual metta, right? This is the unshakable, free mind. Then it says, very clearly, well, that yogin, by these means and through these activities, develops the perception of loving kindness for himself, repeats, understands unshakability. He's already defined unshakability. What's unshakability? Confidence in freedom. Confidence in freedom. And from that arises an unshakable metta. All right. So thank you for that, Char. Having by these means and through these activities developed the thought of, or the perception of loving kindness and repeated it, he or she makes his mind pliant. What's pliant mean? Flexible. Just like we did today, just like you did standing. Flexible. Flexible, opening, relaxing, brightening, not rigid. When does the mind states get rigid? When the breath gets locked. When the breath is locked, I don't mean necessarily the physiological breath. When the breath, the flow of energies in the body is locked, you'll see that the mind states become frozen, locked, and you're into the 5 hindrances. He knows, if you wish, how to make mind pliant and gradually develops the thought or the perception of loving kindness for a person he holds dear. Yeah? After he or she has developed the thought of loving kindness for a person whom he holds dear, he gradually, if you can underline the word gradual there, takes time. Gradual, develops gradually the perception of loving kindness for an indifferent person, a person that you've just met, a person you don't know, and you have the same feeling. My goodness, wouldn't it just be wonderful if they were safe? Wouldn't it be wonderful if they were happy? Wouldn't it be wonderful if they were free? After he has, let's put in the word gradually developed. It doesn't happen in a day necessarily. After he or she has gradually developed the perception of loving kindness or metta for an indifferent person, gradually develops the thought of metta for an enemy, someone who hates you, someone who despises you, someone who's there to do you in. So that's actually, if you want to number those, it's worth numbering. You see the stages of practice. Yeah. Number one is what? Me. I feel really good all over. I feel at ease. I feel free of danger. I feel well. From my tip of my toes to the tips of my fingers, to my earlobes, to the tip of my nose, the crown of my head, my throat, my heart, just feel good. You see? And so too, that's number one. Now number two, yes? Number two, he makes his mind pliant and gradually develops the thought of loving kindness for a person whom he holds dear. In those days, they usually say in the text, for your spiritual mentor. But it could be your mother, could be your father, could be a relative. After he has developed the thought of loving kindness, number three, for a person who holds dear, then it's for an indifferent person. These are stages of practice. Someone who's neutral. So for you, you're in retreat here. You should never leave the premises and walk down Davina Drive. Oh gosh, forbid you do. And you meet strangers, people you've never met before. They come down in a car, maybe a tourist, they don't roll down the window, push a button on the window and go, hey, is this North Galiano? Where are we? I love that. And so instead of going, I'm in metta meditation. I am in a deep state of meditation and I don't talk. What would you do? Never met these people before. By the way, every time I've been in retreat for the last month in June, every time I came down here, there's somebody. Hello, how are you? What's happening?
Where am I?
Yeah, where am I? Is this Crystal Mountain? What do you do here? You know, I've heard about it. You know, practicing meditation. Hello there. Hi. Oh, that's such a cute dog. Oh, I'd like to take that dog home. Can I have one? Where'd you get that? And so on. So what do you do? I'm in metta meditation. I'm in a deep samadhi, and I don't speak. No, you engage. Of course you engage. It's fun. It's marvelous. Isn't that great? You engage. Hello, how are you? What's your name? And where do you come from? You see? That's great. What a great opportunity. Oh, you like that dog? Yeah, go take the dog. Okay. I remember one person just stopped. I know them actually. They stopped. And they went, oh my God, that dog. I want that dog. I want one of those. You know? So it's great. Fantastic. Okay, number three, indifferent person. Number four, on the top of page 185, metta for an enemy. Thus, next one, on page 185, thus he encompasses all beings with metta and identifies himself with them. Identifies themselves with them. What does that mean? They also are a being. As I am filled with metta, so too they could be filled with metta. They're just like me. Maybe not the same conditioning, maybe different talents, but you know, actually, it's a being. If he does not develop loving kindness for an indifferent person or is unable to do so and develops dislike, he should reflect thus. Quote, in me are states of demerit, that is unwholesome, unfortunate states. I have dislike, so that's just identifying what it is. And wishing to acquire merit capacity, I stirred up confidence and was ordained, or I've taken the precepts. And again, I said, I will develop great loving kindness, or metta, and compassion for the weal of all beings. For the benefit. Weal is a very old-fashioned word for benefit. It's really, really old. We don't use. How many people have used the word wheel in the last week? I will help cook for the weal of all the practitioners. How many decades has it been? It's really amazing. Eh? So this is an old text. Yeah, I think it's what 1920s, something like that. So we don't use the word wheel. I can just imagine all the time. Wheel. The wheel of all beings through the merit, the capacity, the strength of the great teacher, that is Shakyamuni Buddha, his teachings. If I cannot develop loving kindness towards one indifferent person, how shall I develop metta towards enemies? If that yogin is still unable to destroy dislike and hate, that yogin should not endeavor to develop loving kindness, but should adopt another way to remove the hatred he has for that person. That means you need another technique. Go see your teacher. Metta's not working? You've tried? Go see your teacher and they will have perhaps a different method or a different meditation for you. It may not be an appropriate meditation. And that's where I'd like to finish with this evening. Read that, contemplate that again and again, and tease out those paragraphs, and you will see it's a pretty extraordinary paragraph, unlike really you'd come up upon most places. It's really something coming from a very, very enlightened being. Okay, that's it. And then on Monday evening at 7:30, tomorrow evening at 7:30, we'll start into the 12 means of removing hatred. Okay, it's quite involved. Yeah, plenty. I'm going to ask you all a question, and those on Zoom, of course you're the same. On Zoom, I ask you a question. What's it like to be happy with no object? I want you to try that. You can write that down as a contemplation, just something to place in the mind stream. What's it like to be absolutely at ease with no object at all? It doesn't require any kind of object to be happy and to be absolutely satisfied. What would that object be, or what would that non-object be? That's about as far as I'll go this evening. That's what this is. When it says ease, how can you be fully at ease? And you'll say, because my body feels good. But does your body always feel good? Is it possible in a human life, or any sentient being's life, to have a body that's always optimally feeling good? What would you say? No, it's not possible. Always? Every time you sit, you expect to have, I'm perfectly healthy. I'm glowing from head to toe. What do you think? What do you think? Is that a fantasy?
Yep.
Yeah. It's a health fantasy, isn't it? How about happy? Always happy? What do you say? Were you always happy? Do you think it's possible to always be happy? So it might be something else in here. Not really about happiness. In the words of my beloved teacher, His Eminence Alter Rinpoche, just never forgot. I actually started clapping and almost got up and gave a standing ovation when he said this, because I was just like, oh, he nailed it. He said, the teaching of Mahamudra, let's get it straight, it's not about being happy and it's not about being sad, it's about liberation. That's what you're looking for. Because you're always going to be fiddling the chess pieces on the chessboard. for the rest of your life. That makes me happy. That makes me happy. No, that makes me happy. That makes me happy. This page makes me happy. Actually, if you go to page 163, that'll make you happier. And then somewhere in the secret text, there'll be something that will really make you a lot happier. And that's going to go on for the rest of your life. And it's equivalent to how many Dharma texts you have stacked beside your bed, looking for the secret text of the answer. It's got to be in here somewhere. The final happiness must be in the text somewhere. Where are you going to find it? Where's the only place you could possibly find that which is neither happy nor sad, but is absolutely free? The happiness of freedom, of ease. Where is it? So I leave that for you. So let us just take a few minutes and wish all beings, in front, to the right, behind, to the left, above and below, all the 10 directions, into infinite space, and wishing all sentient beings to be safe and utterly at ease. That is, they discover freedom. Wonderful dwelling with all of you in metta. Beautiful. So I'll say good night. Have a good rest, whether it's an hour or 5 or 6 or 7 hours. And we'll get together again, a few people tomorrow morning, but meet again tomorrow at 7:30. And as we get further along in the retreat, I need to repeat it more often, is tomorrow at 7:30, right? Tomorrow at 7:30. It's amazing how it just goes. Thank you all. What a great joy. Thank you all those in Zoom. And wonderful to have this such an experienced community of practitioners. It's fantastic. So really warms my heart to see how many beings are coming along so well, and even those that feel like they're new. It's a wonderful, harmonious feeling in the room. So it's great. Wonderful level of dedication. See you later. Good night.